Hello everyone, this is Nuresh from nureshtech.co.in. Today the stock which we are going to discuss is Reliance Industries, one of the stocks which has been a terrible underperformer over the last 5-6 years. If you look at a longer term picture of this chart, what we see, it's in a consistent downtrend since 2009 end, or say since the start of 2010. Then we look back a bit more. Since the top in 2008 around 1500 levels, 1500 to 1600, the stock has gone nowhere, and this is almost 8 to 10% of the index. Now what is the reason we are looking at it with a longer term view right now is, so let's see what has happened over the last 1 year in the stock. If we look here, in the start of 2012 we made almost double bottoms with a little tick below the previous bottom, which is a standard thing with Reliance Industries. It tends to break the supports by a very small margin and then reverses. And there was a lot of buyback which happened in this period. Then we saw the next major breakout which happened here around 740 to 750, which was hit almost like 3 to 4 times. Somewhere here. This led to the move to 850, 900 and so on. This was again tested here. Post that, this zone of 730 to 750 or somewhere closer to 760 has become a critical zone of support. Now this is what has been holding on to the stock. At the same time, over the last 2 years, somewhere closer to 920 is where it keeps on getting a lot of resistance. So if we look here, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attempts, and on the downside there have been 4 attempts. Now, when we look at the shorter term charts, as expected and as always noticed with the stock, it tends to break the short term supports before bottoming out. So if we look in this area, like 840 was a support level which was being held up almost 1, 2, 3 times and which has broken. This was similarly the case before also, where somewhere out here it kept on testing the zones of 760, 770. So what we believe is now it is getting into a zone where one should be looking into buying it with a longer term view, and in the next attempt we could even be looking at a possibility of it crossing about 900. So the main reason is, when we look at this trend line which is coming from this lows here, if I were to join this bottom, like this is the example wherein it just broke below the trend line out here. This was momentarily for a day or two and then it reversed. So now, given that the next new low is in place, we'll shift the trend line here. So this is where it comes to, somewhere closer to 815, which has been tested. Maybe it could be broken also for a day or two, which is almost done here. So maybe 800 could be seen on the screen on the worst side. And from here, we could be looking at a bounce back to 900, 920 in the short term, which is what has happened here. If you notice, it was a very swift move. Always from the bottoms it moves up very swiftly. So what we see is, we are looking towards a move to 900, 920. But the whole point is, if the index were to move more strongly in coming years, one of the major contribution has to come from oil and gas, which has not contributed for the last 5 to 6 years. And one of the top bets in the terms of weightage is Reliance Industries. So once it crosses 920 is when we'll see a major long term trend change. But for a long term investor at 800, 820, the downside could be limited. We could be looking towards a short term bet at 920, and maybe in the long term, once it crosses 920, we have a clean move up till 1100. So I believe this is a good risk reward entry point for Reliance Industries. So my conclusion would be to buy Reliance Industries. At current levels of 800 to 820 with a long term target of 1100 and even 1400 in a couple of years. So when I talk about 1400, we could be looking at somewhere closer to this previous resistance zones of around 1300 to 1400, or maybe even go back to new highs. So I believe the long consolidation will get over in the next 3 to 6 months, and a best entry point would be right now. Maybe momentum traders could be looking out for a move beyond 920 for a confirmation. But this is an interesting stock to keep a watch on, even if you're not very convinced of buying at current levels. But this could be one of the leaders post the next 3 to 6 months. Thanks a lot. Happy investing.